Aloha. Welcome to our Pono Process training. I'm Patricia, the Pono Process lead, and joining me today is Noi, Pono Process Navigator, and Delia, Pono Process Supervisor. We're excited to share with you all today about the Pono Process. The Pono Process is an additional support for youth to use in the event that their rights are not being honored and upheld. This is presented by the State of Hawaii's Department of Human Services, Child Welfare Services, and Epic Ohana. Before we start, we'd like to go through some general housekeeping for today. Please place your name, role, and section or unit into the chat. When possible, we ask that you please turn your cameras on so we can see everyone's beautiful faces. Please keep yourself muted, and if you have any questions, we ask that you place them into the chat and we will address them after the training. During today's training, we will be speaking about multiple aspects that play a huge part in the creation of the Pono process. So let's start with the Preventing Sex Trafficking and Strengthening Families Act. The Preventing Sex Trafficking and Strengthening Families Act of 2014, but passed in Hawaii in 2016, covers a wide range of topics from preventing sex trafficking to family connections and more. The pieces of this law that we'll be focusing on today are around normalcy and prudent parenting. This groundbreaking federal law is designed to promote well-being and normalcy for youth in foster care. The Act directs state child welfare agencies, contracted providers, and courts to facilitate age-appropriate experiences for these youth and to take other steps to support normalcy and promote permanency. In the area of normalcy, the Act specifically requires states to do the following. 1. Ensure that children in foster care engage in age or developmentally appropriate activities, and some of these activities may include allowing a young person to participate in sports, going on field trips, sleepovers, and more. 2. Institute the reasonable and prudent parenting standard for youth participation in activities. And this is important as prior to the implementation of this act, foster youth would need the approval from their social workers to engage in normal activities. And more often than not, by the time the approval was given, the opportunities had already been passed up for that young person. So, what this is saying is that resource caregivers can now give that young person the approval to participate in those activities. 3. Develop standards and trainings on the reasonable and prudent parenting for resource caregivers. 4. Institute liability protections when the reasonable and prudent parenting standard is applied by resource caregivers. And this is just saying that resource caregivers can now exercise the reasonable and prudent parenting standard without fear of facing repercussions such as being sued. 5. Require participation of youth age 14 or older in case planning and identification of advisors or advocates. 6. Mandate provisions of a list of rights to youth age 14 and older, but I know here in Hawaii our age is actually 12. And last but not least, 7. Mandate inclusion of youth age 14 and older in transition planning. Now that's a lot of information to take in. But really, what this is saying is that while there's no single normal childhood experience, normalcy refers to the age and developmentally appropriate activities and experiences that will allow children and youth to grow. It means that youth are able to do what is considered routine for many teenagers, such as participate in sports, spending time with friends, dating, sleepovers, having a cell phone, and trips. And those are just some examples. It also includes opportunities for youth to take on additional responsibilities and freedoms, such as learning how to drive, working a part-time job, or even having a later curfew. Through these activities, youth learn their interests and talents, safely experiment and take risks, practice decision-making skills, and develop healthy and peer adult relationships. We'd now like to share with you all a short video of young people's experience in foster care as it relates to normalcy.
I never felt at home with my first placement as a foster kid. Uh, One of the things that was really weird for me was that they ate cereal in the morning. Coming from a Chinese cultural family, I mean, we eat rice or saimin in the morning for breakfast. And I remember asking them, or asking my social worker if I could eat saimin. And they had denied me of that. And so I felt very out of place. I really felt that they didn't respect my culture. They didn't really see me as an individual. and that really made me feel out of place and not normal in that sense.
One Thanksgiving, the foster kids, including myself, had to sit down on the smaller table, and her biological family and friends were sitting down on the bigger table. And they had continuous access to the food, and we only had the one plate she had made for us. And after we were sent to our rooms to just sit there and kind of just wait, and it made me feel like I wasn't a part of the family.
There was a list of rules that was on your door. There was like 24 of them. I remember that they would say things like lights out at 9 o'clock or no eating after dinner, and they would even lock the fridges at one point in time.
I felt like I had a decent amount of freedom. I was expected to follow the household rules. I would have to do chores every day. Sunday through Friday, it would take like 15 minutes to do chores, and on Saturday it would take like 2 hours. But I felt like I learned that it was a part of life. I was able to go surfing on the weekend as long as we finished our chores, and roughly once a week I would cook in the household, so that taught me how to cook, essentially.
Before I aged out of foster care, my foster mom really encouraged working. She believed in earning, us young people earning our own money. So we know the value of money, how to manage our own money and things like that.
One foster family that I went with, that they were just great. They were really great people. They made me feel really, really, really normal. I was able to participate in marching band. I had a cell phone, I had a computer. They, at one point in time, tried to help me get my license, but the social worker didn't allow it. But they would fight for everything that I kept telling them that I wanted. And it was great because I actually felt like they loved me as their own. And they didn't have any kids. So to go from a home where I wasn't in someone's family to being accepted and knowing that someone cared for me was just an awesome feeling.
We had no visitation with our own siblings. So what they did, the foster parents, were each week they would take a shift where they would pick us all up, we would visit each other, go swimming with each other, at least have visitation with our siblings, which that was really awesome.
I mean, this is the first place that when the family is going on a vacation, I actually got to go along with them because I was a part of the family. So I went to Oregon and I met all of my mom's family, and they introduced me as their son. So that made me feel very normal.
He made me and my brother felt very welcomed. I felt loved, and I feel like that was the main thing. He really did treat us like part of his family.
Thank you all so much for watching that video with us. We understand how emotional that video can be, and we always give thanks to our young people who are willing to share their stories. This is actually a really great transitioning point into talking about the Foster Youth Bill of Rights. So in 2018, the Foster Youth Bill of Rights was passed into law, and I'm actually going to ask if Noy would mind sharing about the first few rights listed on this form.
Thank you, Patty. So aloha, my name is Noy Warchit. I am the Pono Process Navigator. And I will go over some of the rights that young people have while they are in foster care. So young people have the right to be free from physical, psychological, sexual, and other forms of abuse. Young people have the right to food, shelter, and clothing, as well as receive medical care, dental services, corrective vision care, and mental health services. Young people have the right to be enrolled in health insurance plans and be provided with a health assessment. Young people also have the right to have regular, supervised or unsupervised in-person, telephone, or other forms of contact with their parents and siblings unless it's deemed inappropriate or not appropriate by the courts, or unsafe by the social worker, therapist, GL, or CASA. Also, withholding visits from the young person's family cannot be used as a form of punishment. And this is really important for us because in the past, we saw that young people were not given visitation if they did not make good grades in school, or if they came home from a visit and they were acting out, when really that's an appropriate response to trauma. So they were visits were withheld, and that is no longer allowed according to the Foster Youth Bill of Rights. If a young person is 14 or older, the young person has the right to be involved in developing their own case plan and planning for their future, as well as have in-person contact with their social worker. They also have the right to have regular in-person contact with their guardian ad litem or CASA, and receive notice of their court hearings, to attend and get transportation to those hearings. They have the right to speak with a judge, as well as ask for an attorney if opinions and requests differ from that of their guardian ad litem. When I was in care, it meant a lot to me to be able to be involved in my court hearings. I was a minor mother in foster care, so the stakes were high if I wasn't engaged. Through being engaged in my court process, I knew what I needed to do, what kind of services I needed to complete in order to be reunified with my daughter. So we were lucky that my foster mom at the time, she wanted to take both my daughter and I. So we lived in the same home. At one time, my daughter was also my foster sister. And I say lucky because a lot of young parents, they don't have that option. There are not homes set up for mothers and their babies to be together. When I exited foster care, my daughter and I had the tools and the resources that we needed in order to be successful. Now that I'm an adult and professional, I've had the privilege of working with young mothers who have their child involved in the child welfare system. And what I've learned is that it's so important for young people to feel heard, and encouraged to advocate for themselves. It's important to have a social worker that includes them in the decision-making process, because when all the programs and the people are gone, they will have to be the ones to make those decisions themselves, right? And it's also important to have a judge that listens and understands. And these things will empower young people to have better outcomes. So thank you for allowing me to share my story. And at this time, I'm going to throw it back to Patty so she can take you through the rest of the rights.
Thank you so much, Noe, for sharing with us those first few rights and also sharing with us your story and really the power of using your voice in a court type setting. Moving forward with the rest of the rights, around education, a young person has the right to attend school and remain in their original school if it's in their best interests. They also have a right to be provided transportation to their original school, receive their educational records, and if changing schools, be enrolled in the new school immediately. Around religious and extracurricular activities, a young person has the right to exercise their own religious beliefs, which includes refusing to attend religious activities and services. A young person also has the right to participate in extracurricular, cultural, and social activities. Around independent living services and documents, there's a lot that encompasses this, but what this is saying is that a young person has a right to have an access to their own bank account and also help managing that as well. At age 12, a young person has the right to be part of developing their transition plan and also participating in independent living program services. At age 14, a young person has a right to receive a copy of their credit report every year, assistance in understanding that, and assistance correcting that, but this is only while they are in foster care. And at age 17, a young person has the right to receive their personal documents such as certified birth certificate, state ID, social security card, and so much more. You'll notice that at the bottom of this document, there's actually an area for youth to sign as well as a social worker. That's because this document that you're seeing is the official form that social workers review with youth in foster care. If the youth is 12 years or older, this document must be signed and transmitted to court every 6 months. All right, now that we've gone through the Foster Youth Bill of Rights, we'd like to engage with you all in a few polls around these rights. If you cannot see the poll on your screen, we've included the questions on this slide. Please input your answers into the chat if you're unable to use this poll. Remember that these are only true or false questions. All right, so now that you've had a few moments to answer the poll, let's review the answers. 1. Withholding visits with the youth's family cannot be used as a form of punishment. The answer to this is true. This was very important in the creation of the Foster Youth Bill of Rights, as Noy had stated earlier, as we found that many young people were actually being punished by withholding visitations with their family because of the way in which they were acting out, either from coming home from visits or even if they were not doing something within the home, young people were being told, well, then you can't go and see your family. This cannot happen. 2. A youth has a right to refuse to attend religious services. This is true. 3. A youth has a right to have a copy of their birth certificate, but not state ID. This one was kind of a trick one, so this one's actually false. Young people have a right to have a copy of their birth certificate and their state ID. It's important to note, though, that in the Foster Youth Bill of Rights, it states at age 17. It's important that young people are given their vital documents upon aging out of care, but also recognizing that a 14 or 15-year-old may need these documents to do certain things, so being aware of that. 4. If a youth is moved, they must attend the school in their new district. This is also false. If a youth is moved to a new resource home, they actually can continue to stay in their original school if it's found in their best interests. And 5. A youth has a right to get notice of, attend, and receive transportation to their court hearings. This is also true. Thank you all so much for engaging in these polling questions with us, and we'd now like to move forward with sharing with you all about the Pono process. Since the passing of the Foster Youth Bill of Rights, child welfare, community partners, and young people have been working on creating a grievance process, or as it's been named, the Pono Process. It's been named the Pono Process because we recognize that grievance has a very heavy word to it, and this program or this support is not meant to be a gotcha. It's meant to allow team members and young people to collaborate in a way that is Pono with one another. The pictures that you see on this slide are actually from an event in 2019 with High Hopes board members statewide partnering with Child Welfare, Family Court, GAL CASA, and other service providers. And during this event, we worked together on developing prototypes of what this grievance process would look like. In July of 2020 at Ohana's Forever, the Pono process was officially launched. I want to note, though, that this partnership from this 2019 event continues today as a Pono Process Committee has been formed and continues to work together on the development and implementation of the Pono process. Our vision for the Pono process is a commitment to collaborate as a community on the creation and implementation of the Pono process, as well as to assure that the rights of children and youth in foster care are honored and upheld. Along with our vision of the Pono process, we also have values. And those values are that it's youth friendly, meaning it's easy to access and easy to understand for young people. Youth voice and engagement, meaning when the young person is utilizing the process, a young person is heard and involved. Free from retaliation, so a young person is not punished or removed for filing a grievance. Timely, that the action on the grievance process will occur quickly and efficiently, also while understanding, though, that some grievances will not be able to be handled within a day or two. Respectful and empathetic. And this is just really stating that myself and Noy, the staff who handle the grievances, will be respectful and helpful in supporting the young person and, of course, the team members as well. Neutrality. And we achieve this by having a separate navigator to receive and field initial grievances. Communication and transparency. This is a two-part one. So one, that youth and relevant parties are notified of action being taken, and two, that the results of the grievance or request are being conveyed in a timely manner. Accountability and authority, meaning there's a chain of command, panel, or decision-making team that has authority or can hold people accountable in making these things happen or achieving a resolution. And of course, last but definitely not least, confidentiality. that a young person's information when filing a grievance will always remain with appropriate parties only and handled in a way that does not peg young people as a troublemaker to outside parties or team members. I'd like to hand it over to Noy to take us through the rest of the training.
Thanks, Patty. So what you see in front of you are the self-advocacy options for young people in foster care. Our Pono Process staff encourages young people to talk about what they need and to work with their team first. So that would be option 1. Young people also have the right to meet with their judge, option 2. And option 3 would be to utilize the Pono Process. And the chart is listed in this way to impress upon young people that they should work with their team first. The Pono Process should be a last resort measure, even if the Pono Process is a great resource. With that in mind, advocacy is not easy. Therefore, we have developed a prevention piece. The prevention piece that we have been working on is a self-advocacy training for young people between the ages of 12 to 17 who enter the foster care system. And we want to emphasize that it's a prevention piece because we want to teach young people to advocate for themselves in a way that allows them to not have to utilize the Pono Process. In addition to self-advocacy, this training focuses on educating youth on their rights in foster care, also known as the Bill of Rights, what we just went over a few slides ago, as well as educate youth on what the Pono Process is. We expect to roll out this training in the next several months, and if we could have all of your help in recruiting young people, that would be really great. Now, we would like to share with you all a short video explanation of what the Pono Process is, made by our very own Patty.
The Pono Process, working together to honor youth's rights, presented by the State of Hawaii's Department of Human Services, Child Welfare Services, and Epic Ohana. In 2018, the Foster Youth Bill of Rights became law. Some of these rights include the right to visitation with family, such as your siblings and parents, the right to live in a safe home, the right to participate in extracurricular activities, and the right to access vital documents such as your birth certificate and state ID. If you are a youth in foster care, and if you have any questions or concerns about your case or feel that your rights are not being upheld, you have the right to talk to your team consisting of your social worker, CASA GAL, and foster parents, or speak to your judge. If you are in need of any additional support, try the Pono Process. The Pono Process is an additional support for youth to use in the event that their rights are not being honored and upheld. Pono means to be just, fair, and upright. We chose this word as a reminder to always do right by our youth. To use the Pono Process, follow these steps. Step 1. A youth files a grievance with the Pono Process Navigator through email, phone, website, or form. A grievance is an official statement of concern. Step 2. The Pono Navigator receives the grievance. The Pono Navigator is a professional with experience in the foster care system who will guide youth through the Pono Process and connect youth to the people that can help with the youth's concern. Step 3. More information will be gathered about the grievance with the youth by the Pono Navigator. Step 4. The Pono Navigator will reach out to the youth's team to inform the team of the youth's grievance. Step 5. The youth and their team will work together to reach a resolution. In this step, team members may reach out to the youth for more information and input. The Pono Navigator will stay informed of the grievance. Step 6. If no resolution is found by the team, the grievance is passed on to the Pono Protectors. Pono Protectors are additional supporters who have authority to help team members find a resolution. The Pono Protectors, youth, and team will work together to reach a resolution. Step 7. If no resolution is found by the Pono Protectors and team, they will assist the youth to explore legal options. The Pono Process should be used as a last resort measure in the events that your rights are not being upheld and honored and you've used all other options. But if you are in need of support, try Pono. For more information or to use the Pono process, please contact us through email pono@epicohana.org, call 833-TRI-PONO or 833-879-7666, text 808-838-1463, or visit our website at www.ponoprocess.org. Together, we can ensure that your rights are honored and upheld.
Okay, so on a side note, I just want to mention that I have a great appreciation for that video and for Patty. I had no idea what it took to make a doodly, how to find out the graphics and match the audio. So Patty actually offered to teach me, and as we were going through it, I said, "Oh no, you can be in charge of the videos." So thank you, Patty, for your gifts, your talents, and your creativity. And we're going to get right back into the training. So some key things to remember from that video are the roles of certain people. Like the Pono Process Navigator, I'm the navigator and Patty is the lead. We're professionals with experience in the foster care system who will guide youth through the Pono process and connect youth to the people that can help with a youth's concern. There's also the Pono Process team. This team can consist of the youth, their social worker, guardian ad litem, court-appointed special advocate, resource caregiver, as well as a therapist sometimes. And they work together to resolve the youth's concern. We also have Pono Protectors, who are professionals in positions of assigned authority that make decisions independently or in conjunction with other team members as necessary to resolve grievances that are able to be handled outside of a court process. So Pono Protectors for child welfare have been identified as the section administrators. On Oahu, our Pono Protectors have been identified as Dina Koyanagi from Child Welfare Services, Faye Kimura from the Court Improvement Program, and Amphi Champathong from the CASA program. On Kauai, we have Eva Lani. On the Big Island, we have Roz and Jamie. On Maui, we have Annie and Kelly. And we are sorry, I don't know if are we still identifying more Pono Protectors on the neighbor islands for the courts?
Yep, only for Kauai.
Okay, just for Kauai. Thank you, Patty. And the flowchart that you're seeing in front of you are the 7 steps on how to use the Pono process. In steps 1 to 3, once the youth submits a grievance via website, email, or phone, the navigator will receive it and then follows up with the youth to gather additional information, as well as to confirm that the concern will actually be considered a grievance. In these steps, a Pono process information sheet will be filled out and any resources necessary will be provided to the young person. So the form on the left is the form that we're referring to. We also recognize that some youth just need help with connecting to resources like enhancement funds, the Youth Circles program. And in that event, we will assist the young person and then notify their team that we have supported or assisted the young person in resolving their concern. But if the concern is considered a grievance, the 4th step would be for the navigator to send the information grievance sheet along with any other relevant information to the youth's team. Additionally, initial notice of the grievance and Pono process information sheet will be sent to the Child Welfare Services branch administrator and assistant branch administrator, Ella Dean and Tanya, as well as the social worker and supervisor. And the purpose of this is to tag Pono process cases for select review. Once this happens, an internal review will occur within the department. And this is so that we can learn how to prevent grievances from repeating in the future. In step 5, the youth and the youth team will work together to develop a resolution. The navigator will stay informed of the grievance and follow up with the youth and their team on a weekly basis. If a resolution is not found in step 5, we would bring in Pono Protectors. And if a resolution is still not found, the Pono Protector will assist the young person in exploring legal options such as scheduling a meeting with a judge or helping the young person in obtaining their own attorney. We also have a website that contains all of the information that we shared with you all today. So please feel free to check us out at www.ponoprocess.org. If you need more information, please do not hesitate to contact us in any which way that we have listed in this slide, whether it's through phone, text, email. You can call us directly or email us directly as well. And mahalo for allowing us the time to share with you all this information today. And at any time that you're ready, please, unmute or virtually raise your hand or put in the chat box if you have any questions. Thank you all so much.
We do have some questions that came up in the chat. The first question is, are there steps that child welfare services workers follow in order to file a grievance? This is a wonderful question. So it's very important to note that actually a young person files a grievance. So a young person can contact us through our phone number, our email, and even our website to go ahead and file a grievance with us. And then once we receive the grievance, the navigator would be the one to field additional information to ensure that it actually is considered a grievance. Once that happens, then we would bring in the social worker, CASA GAL, and resource caregivers. So really, the social worker's role doesn't happen until it's considered an official grievance and until it's passed on to them by the Pono Navigator after ensuring that they've received all relevant information. Noi, would you like to take the next question?
Sure. Is there additional hard documents that can be passed along, example, flyer or pamphlet to those that do not have access to internet? Definitely. So we do have lots of resources on our website. We will send them after as well that you can print out and give to the young person. So yes, we definitely have hard documents that can be distributed to young people who do not have access to the internet. Is there a physical place that people can go into if they have any further questions or concerns to have one-on-one? So at this time, because we are living in a very strange time and we do not have one-to-one contact at this time, I think the next best thing is that we have young people can have direct contact with us through our direct numbers, email, or providing many different avenues for the young person to reach out to us. Do you want to add anything, Patty?
No, I think that was perfectly said. We're hoping that somewhere down the line, once we do gain a sense of normalcy, post-pandemic, that we could potentially offer one-on-one with young people, in recognizing that young people may not have access to a cell phone, or as you have asked earlier in your question, or even internet. So ensuring that if young people are wanting to use the Pono process, that is one of our values, that it is easily accessible. Some of the other questions we received are, what are some of the main issues or concerns that young people have when filing a grievance? This is a great question. I'd like to point out that we have not had many Pono process cases come through, but what we are seeing is that from the few inquiries that we've received, many young people are actually going to be using Pono process in regards to normalcy, seeing their siblings, social activities, really, and in regards to those aspects, but also just wanting to remind you folks that the Pono process is to be used in regards to Bill of Rights issues or Bill of Rights concerns. So if a young person wanted to join the military, that's not necessarily something that would be considered a grievance. We would support them in providing them with resources, such as maybe connecting them with youth circles to plan that out with their team members. And that's actually really perfect, because the next question was, what happens if a young person wanted to join the military? So as I did say earlier, we would connect them to the appropriate resources, as it's not connected to the Bill of Rights per se. So we would just ensure that we connect them to the appropriate resources. And then we also have one more question about, is there a possibility to contact the navigator? Yes. No, I'm going to let you answer that question.
Sure. Yes. I can be contacted through email, through text, through phone. So even when I'm not, for example, if I'm off, someone will always be available to take the call or to return the call. So Patty, as well as our two supervisors, have access to our the voicemail, the number. So at any given time, there will be someone to respond within 24 hours. Thank you for that question.
All right, that feels like an okay Q&A part, unless you guys actually have more questions to ask.
I will just say it out loud. I'm sorry, I know we're on recording, but I know that we saw the names on there. What are they again? The Pono Navigators? Or not Navigators, but Pono what?
So Patty is the Pono Process lead. I'm the Pono Process navigator. And then we have Pono Process team that will include the social worker, GAL, CASA, and then we have Pono Protectors. Like
That's what it is.
Pono Protectors, and for child welfare, they have been identified as their section administrators. And then we also have specific people on the different islands. And then we can get that information to you because there are a lot of different people. But yes, they're Pono Protectors.
May I jump in?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Julia Ulim with Epic Ohana. I'm the Pono Process supervisor. And to answer your question, Sam, clarify a little further, a Pono Protector, so I know there's a lot of information in this wonderful training and in the video. So if you can imagine the process going along where a young person files a grievance, and then the first people that our Pono Navigator and lead, Patty and Noi, will reach out to is the team. So paperwork will be filled out. They'll send that paperwork to the team, which is the social worker, the GL, the CASA, perhaps the RCG or resource caregiver if appropriate. And then if they can't figure out how to resolve the issue of the young people and it's stuck, it gets really stuck, then it goes to the next level of a Pono Protector. And a Pono Protector from child welfare is going to always be the SAs or section administrators on each island or in each county. And then also someone from the court system who's been assigned by the court to help maybe on the GAL CASA side to really help with some stuck issues to move it along or maybe have the authority to like make something happen quicker. So that's what the role of a Pono Protector is. It may not always have to get to a Pono Protector, but if necessary, because it's stuck at the team level, a Pono Protector has that kind of authority and the knowledge and the connections to be able to move that case along a little quicker, get the appropriate resources to help that young person move that case along. Is that helpful?
Yes, thank you for explaining what a Pono Protector does. I'm so sorry for getting the
No, I mean, this is all
roles
new.
confused.
These are all new, and these are new rules. And the great news is that all this information is available at ponoprocess.org, www.ponoprocess.org. So everything you saw today, the videos, the charts, explaining who the different roles are, and the more that we get into this process, all of us will become more familiar with who everyone is. So thank you for all of these questions.
Dita, would you actually mind taking the next question that's been asked in the chat? So we do have a question about what if the youth doesn't have a phone or computer? How would they try to file a grievance?
And that's a really good question and something that is unfortunately probably the reality for many of our young people. In that case, they can utilize if they are ever around someone that has a phone or a laptop or computer. Hopefully, if they're in school, they have some sort of device to be able to connect to school. They can reach out that way. Um, Again, even if they are able on anyone's phone or anyone's electronic device to go to ponoprocess.org, they can file a grievance on ponoprocess.org. They can they can contact, they can email, send a message, or file a grievance right on that website. Hopefully, if they're seen or talking to their GL or CASA or social worker or anyone, let's say a youth circle facilitator, a youth partner, they can let those people know, I need help, I'd like to file a grievance, I need to find out more about what my rights are or about what the Pono process is. So hopefully there are avenues, there are people out there, even if they reach out to a counselor or a teacher and this is I need help, can you help me connect with ponoprocess.org or these people, then hopefully there's options out there. Would you like to weigh in, Noy or Patty, on that?
Thank you. So I'm always amazed at how just incredibly resilient and resourceful young people are, especially in care. So as Delia mentioned, we always hope that they have some kind of access to someone who is able to help them. And I also want to mention that, like say if a counselor reaches out to us or an auntie or uncle and they have just really pressing concerns relating to the young person's safety, immediate safety, whether it be they're being abused or they're not eating, we as the Pono Process lead navigator supervisors, we are mandated reporters. That's important to note. So if we receive some type of concern and we have to report it to the child welfare hotline because we are mandated reporters. Is there anything you wanted to add, Patty or Delia?
No, I just want to thank you for making that point. I do want to state, though, that the concern has to be in regards to the young person's immediate safety. So we would not call the hotline if a young person, if someone was just saying, "Hey, a young person wants to know how to reach out to you folks." But as to what Noy said, if a young person is being harmed in any way, we would then call the hotline, and that is actually something that has been asked by us from directly from the Child Welfare Branch Administrator, Eladine Olivao. Are there any other questions that you folks may have? No?
Can I add one more comment?
Yeah.
For our audience here, and I think it might have been touched upon earlier, but just to emphasize, there will be many inquiries that come our way or that may not have to do with a grievance or may not rise to the level of a grievance, but young people may just need resources or information, like they need money for prom or they need to learn about a youth circle, and we will never say, oh, this doesn't have to do with the Bill of Rights, find call someone else. No way. We're also connectors, right? That's what Epic Ohana does. And so we would connect them with the appropriate resources and parties in the community to make sure that their question is answered or that they receive the services or help that they need. So just because it's not a grievance doesn't mean we are not doing everything we can to help young people out there. The other thing we want to emphasize is that even though it's great that we have a process in place and we're so grateful that the department and family court and others are on board to make sure that young people that their rights are upheld and honored, we, we really want to focus on prevention. The more we can work with our partners to ensure that they communicate with the young people, that they know their young people, that they're in, they're checking in on their needs and their desires and their questions and their wants, and we probably will see less need for a grievance process, right? That's the goal, is for the team to work it out, for the team to know what their young people need. So with the self-advocacy training that we're going to roll out in the new year, and with additional dialogue and communication and training with all of the partners who serve young people, there really is a hope that there's that prevention effort to really take care of the young people on the front end, so there's not need for a grievance at the back end. But if there is a need, we are here.
Yes. And before we end, I just want to add on to what Delia mentioned about a prevention piece. So Delia talked about ensuring that our service providers, our team, right, knows how to communicate and work with the youth. But I feel it is very important for us to teach young people how to advocate for themselves as well, how to communicate, because that's not just a skill in foster care. Like, this is how you talk to your social worker. It's a life skill. When they go out into the workforce, when they have issues with the landlord, even in their relationships with family, friends, it's going to be very important. So my hope is that as we roll out this training, that young people can take that skill into their adult life. So yes, thank you. Thank you again for all the wonderful questions and for your time and your energy on our virtual training. And again, we'd like to ask that you fill out our survey, our evaluation once this training is done. And if you forget, Patty will remind you through an email. So please fill it out, because we really want to know how we can improve our training for the future. So mahalo and take care.